All right, let's just jump right into it. If you've been collecting comics for any amount of time, even just for a month, I guarantee you've probably made a mistake. Maybe you paid way too much for a book, or maybe you sold one right before it got super hot. Trust me, we have all been there.
And you know what? I couldn't have said it better myself. Collecting is a journey, right? And making those mistakes, that's just a part of learning the ropes. It's kind of like paying your dues to get into the club. So, in this explainer, we're going to break down the 5 most common mistakes that collectors make. The goal here is to help you save some money, avoid a little bit of that heartache, and at the end of the day, just build a much, much better collection. Okay, first up, we have a real classic, the speculator trap. This is when you start treating modern comics like they're lottery tickets. So many collectors learned this lesson the hard way back in the 90s comic boom, and believe me, it is a trap that is just as easy to fall into today. So here's the thing, buying 10 copies of a brand new #1 issue thinking it's going to pay for your retirement, that is a super risky bet because modern comics are just printed in massive, massive numbers. So what's a fix? It's simple. Collect what you're actually passionate about. That way, even if the value never goes above cover price, you still own a piece of art that you genuinely love.
All right, let's talk about mistake number 2, which I kind of like to call the silent killer. You could have the most valuable collection in the world, but if you don't store it the right way, its value can just evaporate over time without you even realizing it. We're talking about those books stashed in a hot garage or a damp basement.
And this right here really shows the disconnect, doesn't it? It makes absolutely no sense to spend a fortune on your comics only to cheap out on the very things that are designed to protect them. The solution is simple, but it is so, so important. Invest in quality supplies. It's literally the best insurance policy for your collection.
Okay, here are the 3 big rules. These are non-negotiable. Mylar bags, they're the gold standard. They make the colors on your books pop and they last forever. Acid-free boards stop the paper from turning all yellow and brittle. And most important of all, find a climate-controlled space. You've got to remember, humidity is the ultimate enemy of paper. Ah yes, FOMO, the fear of missing out. This one is driven almost entirely by outside noise. You know how it goes. A movie trailer drops or some casting news gets announced, and all of a sudden a character's first appearance goes from the bargain bin to like astronomical prices overnight. The big mistake here is letting that panic take over your wallet. You see that price just skyrocketing and you jump in because you're afraid you're going to miss out forever. But honestly, the truth is, patience is your best friend in this hobby. The best time to buy a book is usually when nobody is talking about it. And what's really fascinating is how this chart just lays it all out. A book can sit there at $10 for years. Then bam, news breaks, and it shoots up to $300. But I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, once the movie's out and all that excitement dies down, that price settles way, way back down. Waiting it out is almost always the smart play. You know, when you're just starting out, it is so tempting to want a big collection. You want to fill up those long boxes as fast as you can. But that impulse, it often leads you to just accumulate hundreds, maybe even thousands of books that are, let's be honest, basically just filler. So the mistake is really prioritizing the size of your collection over its substance. The fix is actually just a simple shift in how you think. Instead of buying $55 books, save up that money for one single, truly significant book. A small, curated collection of key issues is always going to be more valuable and, frankly, a whole lot easier to manage. Just picture this for a second. 500 random comics you pulled out of the dollar bin. They're going to take up multiple boxes, they're super heavy to move, and their total value is, well, it's pretty low. Now imagine this one single book. It's easier to store, way easier to display, and 1,000 times easier to sell. And in a lot of cases, this one comic can be worth more than that entire stack of 500. That's the real power of focusing on quality. So what exactly is a key issue? Well, it's a book that has real significance. It could be the very first time a major character shows up, like the Punisher in Amazing Spider-Man 129. Or it could be a truly iconic cover, or a huge story event like a major character's death. These are the books that really stand the test of time. And that brings us to our final and, potentially most expensive mistake. Buying a pricey, raw, that means ungraded comic without really knowing how to judge its condition. This is where an untrained eye can cost you big time. The big error here is just trusting your gut on a major purchase. A book might look perfect from a distance, but you have to know what you're looking for. The fix really has 2 paths. Either you take the time to really learn the ins and outs of grading yourself,
Or, for those big-ticket items, just buy a book that's already been professionally graded. It takes all the guesswork out of it. And that right there is the million-dollar question, isn't it? From a few feet away, a comic might look absolutely flawless, but the tiny little details that determine its grade and ultimately its value are often nearly invisible. These are just a few of the value killers that professional graders are trained to spot. Things like color touch-up, where someone literally took a marker to hide a defect, can turn a $1,000 book into a $100 one in an instant. Or pages that have been ever so slightly trimmed to create sharper edges. These hidden flaws are exactly why understanding the grade is so critical. So after you've learned to avoid all these pitfalls, what's the one thing you should always remember? It's this. Markets are going to go up and down, hype is going to come and go, but your genuine love for the characters and the art, that is the one part of your collection that will never, ever lose its value. At the end of the day, collecting is supposed to be fun. By avoiding these common mistakes, you can build a collection that's not just valuable, but one that's a true reflection of what you love. So the real question is, what key issue, what character, what story is going to be the cornerstone of your collection?